Coming up, as coronavirus spreads worldwide, Sony gets cold feet and decides to back out of a major event. Plus, while wrestling games are being rushed out the door broken, another gaming company has given us a long-awaited sequel to a beloved classic. And we will discuss the future of WWE 2K20. While WWE and 2K feel like fun doesn't need to be in a wrestling game, another young wrestling company is looking to enter the gaming market and bring some competition where it's so desperately needed. All that and more coming up next on the PMP Gaming News Update. As always, if you want to stay up to date on all things Patrick McSparron Productions or anything in the gaming world, be sure to follow me on social media, smash that thumbs up button, and subscribe to the channel for more exclusive content. Now, let's get today's news underway. As most of you know, coronavirus over the past few weeks has started to spread across the entire globe. It has killed over thousands of people, and so far there has been no cure found for this deadly virus. Because of this, Sony, I guess, got cold feet and decided to back out of a major event called PAX East, which is scheduled to take place here in just a couple of weeks in Boston. Now, I looked up some research, and from what I gathered, there's only been one case of coronavirus in Boston so far, but to me, you know, that really isn't a huge number at all. Now, granted, it can spread to other people, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Sony's wrong by doing this, but you know, if you're gonna back out of it because of this, okay, fine, but I feel like this is just a lazy bullshit excuse to say, hey, we ain't got our shit ready yet, you know, we ain't got our demos ready, we ain't got the PS5 ready yet, so, in essence, we got cold feet and we need more time. I rather would have just them come out and flat out said, hey, we're not ready to showcase our games just yet. We're not ready to showcase the PS5 just yet. But with that said, with a couple of the demos they were supposed to showcase, one of them, I believe, was The Last of Us Part 2. As most of y'all know, that game is due out on May the 29th, or is at least slated to come out on May 29th. So far, I've heard nothing of any delays for The Last of Us Part 2, and now that they've backed out of PAX East, now for The Last of Us Part 2, we can't really get any info on anything else or really know about anything else until the game's actual release date, and that's if the game even releases on its release date, as there's other rumors going around that coronavirus is scheduled to delay a lot of games this year, which is unfortunate, but at the same time, you know, I feel like this is just a lazy excuse by Sony, but at the same time, you know, I can't really completely fault them, you know, so a good call, but a bad call by Sony. Now, what would be surprising is if they come out, you know, here in a few weeks with their own event and say, surprise bitches, we're revealing the PlayStation 5 at our own event. We don't need all y'all, to hell with all y'all. That would be interesting, which I think that's what's more than likely gonna happen now that Sony's backed out of E3. But, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. You know, I really don't like this wait and see approach that Sony has taken with the PlayStation 5, and the PS5 is slated for a 2020 release. So we'll just have to wait and see what more develops on this situation in the weeks to come. WrestleFest, also known as God's gift to its children. As most of you may or may not know, going to the arcades in the late 80s and early 90s was really the only way to go play a good wrestling game, as wrestling games on the NES and Super Nintendo were far from classics. Playing at the arcades gave us a really good feeling of playing a good wrestling game. In 1991, Technos released a sequel to WWE Superstars, which released in 1989. That sequel that released in 1991 was WWE WrestleFest, and that was known as one of the greatest wrestling games of that time period. Little did we know how good wrestling games would get going forward. Well, 30 years later, we are going to get a sequel to WrestleFest, and I feel like this is long overdue. And while this may not have a WWE license, this is pretty sure to be a pretty damn good game, as Technos and Retrosoft Studios will be set to release Retro Mania Wrestling, which will be slated for a July 2020 release. It'll be coming out on PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Nintendo Switch. Now, I'm sure this game has been announced for a while now, but I just heard about this game this past week, and man, I am excited for it right now, because with it getting a story mode and everything else, you got characters like the Road Warriors, Colt Cabana, Nick Aldis, the BWO, John Morrison, a who's who of wrestling. And while this game does not have a WWE license, you know, you guys need to give this game a shot, because this is probably going to be one of the greatest sequels to one of the greatest wrestling games ever. So kudos to Technos and Retrosoft Studios for getting back into the midst, because in this day and age where we're getting just only WWE games, you know, we need something new, something refreshing, and I feel like Retromania Wrestling is going to deliver that satisfaction, as you see some early screenshots of this game. You know, this game absolutely looks beautiful. It looks amazing, and I really cannot wait to play it. I've heard there's multiple stuff you can do in the game. You can pretty much do anything you want. I don't know if it's going to have a mode similar to Saturday Night's Main Event, or... Now, obviously, we won't have Royal Rumble, because due to copyright reasons, but I'm hoping we also get some sort of Battle Royale mode. So, while few characters does not seem a lot, I feel like they're going to add more characters via DLC. So, shout out to Technos and Retrosoft Studios for getting back in the midst in the wrestling video game world. I hope you all don't mind me covering this game in the near future on this show, as I can't wait to play it, and I cannot wait to cover this game as the weeks go by. I did take to Twitter, as they did release an announcement saying that pre-orders are now live for PC and Nintendo Switch. Obviously, because this ain't a AAA release due to some sort of policy from Sony and Microsoft, this game will not be available for pre-order on the PlayStation Store and Xbox Marketplace until a few weeks before the game comes out. But anyways, I took to Twitter to ask them what the price range of this game will be, and normally when I ask stuff like this, I don't get a response, but this time I actually did, and they replied by simply saying $24.99, which is huge, because now that means we ain't gotta break the bank for a great wrestling game. You know, we're gonna be able to finally play a good wrestling game that ain't filled with bugs, that ain't filled with glitches, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this game. Now we are going to go from a wrestling game that is probably going to be one of the greatest wrestling gaming classics of all time to a disastrous shit show in wrestling gaming hell.
Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career.
Robert.
30 years of my career. Y'all trying to kill me. You killing me, man.
Since the release of WWE 2K20 in October of 2019, it's safe to say that this game has been a disaster in wrestling gaming hell, and this ain't just one of the worst releases on this console generation, but it's safe to say this has pretty much been the worst wrestling games of the modern era. While I don't believe this is the worst wrestling game of all time, I clearly think that honor still goes to WCW Backstage Assault. WWE 2K20, with several patches later, the game is still broken as shit. And a while back when I did my review for WWE 2K20, I'm not gonna lie, the My Career mode, I still stand by my statement, was a great mode this year. It had a great story, and, it made you want more out of it. I know a lot of you are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. I'm not expecting you to agree with me. And if you do agree with me, you're an asshole. Okay, I'm lying there, but in the God's honest truth, it has been one shit show for the ages for WWE 2K20. And when I did my review, I originally gave praise to the 2K originals. And while I felt like Bump in the Night was mediocre, I felt like the other DLCs going forward were going to be pretty badass. But in typical 2K fashion, they decided to not give a shit about its fans, and 2K Originals essentially took a turn for the worst. Now, while I think this mode has potential, it's safe to say that 2K has clearly shown that they do not give a shit about the WWE license, they don't care about wrestling games in general, and they've pretty much made it clear that the NBA is its higher priority right now, because from what I've been hearing, 2K has signed an exclusivity deal with the NBA to be the only company to make their games going forward. Now, I don't know how much of that is true, but if it is, 2K has pretty much made it clear that this company that once produced so many great sports games is pretty much dead in the water now. Now, as much as I give this game shit, I cannot deny the success WWE 2K20 has had on my channel, as this year's My Career mode was the most watched My Career mode out of the last 3 WWE games that I've done the My Career mode for, WWE 2K19 and WWE 2K18. It was a close race between WWE 2K18 and WWE 2K20, as WWE 2K20 this year managed to generate an overall total across 36 episodes of 1,387 viewers. Now, single videos, when it comes to view just for a single video, it's not much to really brag about for a small channel, but when it comes to total views, man, I don't know what else to say but to thank you all. Because without y'all's love and support, I would have not had the motivation to even deliver any content for WWE 2K20 this year. And as much as I don't want to put any more content out for WWE 2K20, I cannot, in good faith, give it a shit ending and not give it its rightful send-off. So, what I'm planning As far as the future goes for wrestling games on this channel, I'll tell you right now, it's not going anywhere because over 7,000 of my views, close to 8,000 of my views across all 214 videos on this channel, which this one's about to make 215, it has generated close to 8,000 views, the pro wrestling genre, with the second highest being mixed martial arts. And with that, I cannot thank you all enough for supporting this channel. You know, it really means a lot to me, and I cannot wait to be able to play more wrestling games going forward. However, I just don't see that being WWE in the near future, because the way 2K20 released this year, it was just an utter disaster. It was a clusterfuck of a game. And I have a feeling it's just only going to get worse from here for 2K21 and beyond. So I think if WWE was smart, they need to go ahead and shop around for new publishers and developers for the series. However, that's going to be another discussion for another time. As far as what I'm planning to do before WrestleMania, I guarantee you we are going to have the 4th annual Celebrity Royal Rumble. Given the success of the greatest Celebrity Royal Rumble, it showed that a short pay-per-view format can work. So that's what I'm gonna plan for the Celebrity Royal Rumble, is a short pay-per-view event like the last time, and I hope y'all will enjoy this one just as much as y'all did the greatest Celebrity Royal Rumble. Now, with that said, while WWE is in a total mosh pit of a disaster right now when it comes to their games, there is another wrestling company that is looking to enter the wrestling gaming market. In January of 2019, All Elite Wrestling formed out of the ashes of a successful pay-per-view called All In that took place on September the 1st, 2018. Since that time, All Elite Wrestling has enjoyed a lot of success. That started with its inaugural pay-per-view event, Double or Nothing, that took place on May the 25th of 2019. Since that time, they went on to sign a national TV deal with TNT, which marked the first time in almost 20 years that wrestling would return to TNT and be broadcasted live on TNT, something I never thought I would see ever again. But here we are in 2020, and All Elite Wrestling is killing it in the ratings every Wednesday night on TNT, as it is TNT's most watched show on Wednesday nights. Now, at StarCast 2, the Executive Vice President of All Elite Wrestling, Kenny Omega, made it clear that before too long, All Elite Wrestling will be releasing a video game, and that it was one of the company's goals was to release a video game, and he felt like the only people who could capture what All Elite Wrestling is truly all about, the great wrestling, what have you, is AKI. Now, AKI is no longer in existence. However, that company is now known as Sensofia. What's Sensofia, you ask? Sensofia is the company formerly known as AKI, which I did not know this before I went to record this video earlier today, so that is something new that I learned. And Kenny Omega said that he wants to make the AEW games feel like and play exactly like No Mercy, and he feels like Sensofia, formerly known as Aki, could deliver that emotion, the feeling of All Elite Wrestling. Now, a lot of you have probably said, well, Ukes owns the rights to the AKI engine, right? No, Ukes does not own the right to that engine. Sensofia owns the right to that engine. Now, it's been a long time since Sensofia has released a wrestling game, as they haven't even released a fighting game. They've mainly been developing dancing games for handheld consoles. But if by some miracle All Elite Wrestling can secure a deal with Sensofia, I feel like WWE is in for a major world of hurt, because we would be getting essentially almost a long-awaited 20-year sequel to No Mercy, as No Mercy turns 20 this November. Now, in this day and age, WWE is really the only game in town in terms of major licensing. Sure, we're getting Retromania Wrestling in July of 2020, and we are getting we got Fire Pro Wrestling World 2 years ago, and I feel like WWE 2K19, the only reason that was good was because of Fire Pro Wrestling World. Otherwise, it would have been probably the gaming disaster that 2K20 was. But that's neither here or there. But anyways, I feel like it's only a matter of time before All Elite Wrestling announces their video game, and I feel like we need to have more wrestling companies like AEW, like Impact, Ring of Honor. We need all these companies to enter the video game market, because the more people you have in this market, it creates competition. And that is one thing WWE and 2K hate, is competition. But I feel like in this day and age of gaming, especially sports games, we need that competition, because with competition, it forces companies to do better. It forces companies to actually give a shit and start putting out great games. And I feel like if AEW announces their game, oh man, I would definitely pay $120, close to $200 for a collector's edition of an AEW game. And if it ends up getting announced, yeah, I guarantee you, we will be covering that game on this channel with all the news and speculation leading up to its release. As this weekend, All Elite Wrestling is in Chicago, Illinois for their... well, I shouldn't say right now they're in Chicago, Illinois. Right now they're in Kansas City, Missouri for tonight's AEW Dynamite. This weekend they will be in Chicago for AEW's next pay-per-view, Revolution, which will be live this Saturday night on pay-per-view. During that same weekend, Chicago's huge entertainment convention, C2E2, is also taking place. And the news going around is that All Elite Wrestling is scheduled to have a heavy presence during C2E2. Now, what is that going to consist of? I don't know. Maybe it'll consist of a wrestling match, appearances, who knows. But I have a feeling this is just gut instinct at this point. Don't take this, as saying, hey, this is definitely going to happen, because I don't know if it's going to happen or not. But I think there's a good chance we'll probably get that announcement of an AEW video game this weekend at C2E2. So, if that happens, I guarantee you the entire wrestling world is going to go apeshit. So, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's hope we get a good wrestling game in the near future. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for today's PMP gaming news update, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to smash that thumbs up button if you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more exclusive content. This is a brand new segment that we did today. I'm planning to do this each and every week, and we are not just going to cover wrestling news. We're also going to cover all sorts of gaming, across all genres. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned next week for another PMP gaming news update. For all of us at Patrick McSparron Productions, this is Patrick McSparron saying so long, and I'll see you soon.